Outside it was pouring with a pounding rain, but the man's ears went into a deathly silence. He could hear nothing but the voice of a strange man, even though the two had never met, but everyone told him that the man was his soulmate. In the setting of this world, there is a supernatural disease that very few people get. Whenever it rains, the sufferer goes suddenly deaf. They will isolate themselves from all sounds in the world. Only people who are mutual soulmates can communicate. Tai, the main character, is a colonist and a sufferer of rainy day deafness. Tai believes that sudden rainy day deafness is both a miracle and a curse. It's the same as when he sees the couple in the cafe. Only the boys suffer from sudden deafness, so when it rains, the boys can't hear their date. The waiter next to him felt envious and thought the boy was lucky to have this condition. Tai, who was suffering from sudden deafness, found it very disturbing. He has also developed the habit of using sticky notes to communicate with people on rainy days. The reason why Tai finds it disturbing is due to another special feature of the condition. That is when certain patients turn 20. As long as they are in the same rainy day, they can't hear the voice of their soulmate. This is also known as the rainy zephyr. But Tai is very resistant to this first destiny. Tai's parents are also sufferers of this disease. They were once a loving couple who were soulmates. Together they raced for sons, Eric, Sam, Ka and Tai. Unexpectedly, change came 2 years ago. At Tai's 20th birthday party, they announced that their relationship had broken down and they had decided to divorce. Tai was devastated and hid in his room, crying in secret. His younger brother, Ken, stood by him silently outside the door. This is also when Tai first hears the voice of his soulmate calling him. But due to his parents' divorce, Tai decided that he would never develop a relationship with his soulmate. So even though that soulmate persisted for 2 years, talking to him unilaterally, Tai never responded to his soulmate either. Not only was Tai afraid to interact with people, he was also a very stubborn person. He goes to the office once in a while and works only to interact with the familiar Gaia. Basically, he never goes to the company's office to work. Most of his co-workers have only heard of Tai, but have never met him. Gaia urges Tai to let go of his defenses and talk to other people. Tai, however, is very adamant about his lifestyle. Tai finds his favorite seat with ease. He ceremoniously set up his little potted plant and put on his glasses. Immediately, he began to carefully observe the people around him. He hoped to get some inspiration from them. That's when Tai saw his brother Ken almost get hit by a bicycle. As soon as Ken sits down opposite Tai, he gives him an endless rant. Tai blames his brother Ken for being reckless and tells him to be careful not to hurt himself. Ken tells Tai that his mom has a dinner date this Sunday. Tai's expression instantly deteriorates when he hears that it's his mom asking them to dinner. Ken only focuses on making fun of his brother and gets a lecture from Tai. Tai tells Ken about how he accidentally made a noise because he kicked the corner of his bed. That's how he responds about soulmates. Ken excitedly asks him what happened to the two of them after that. Tai, however, tells him that he hasn't responded again. Ken tells Tai to take pity on his soulmate. People have been talking to themselves to Tai for 2 years now and have never been responded to. Ken also met his classmates from the same movie department. They did not believe that Ken came to the bookstore on his own initiative until Tai confirmed the incident. The classmates also tell Tai. In fact, Ken had always told them about Tai in private, and they were always praising him. Ken feels embarrassed and rushes the classmates away. Ken didn't expect that when he turned his head, he found the movie guide he had been looking for a long time. Tai was very helpless and could only say congratulations to him and tell him to go to the side to have another look. When Ken came back with the book, he couldn't find the movie guide that he had specifically placed on the counter. Ken looked around anxiously. Instead, he found the magazine he had been eyeing in the hands of Leo, a solitary classmate at school. Ken rushes up to Leo and argues that he reserved the book himself. Leo, however, says very coldly, since Ken didn't pay for the book, that means anyone can buy it away. Tai looks at the cute Ken and argues with someone else at the bookstore again. He rushed over to pull his brother back. After understanding what happened, he advised Ken that the bookstore was a public place. Ken was so anxious, Tai comforts him while dragging him to the staff. He asks if the book is still in stock. In the evening, Tai returns home to continue working. He recalls a picture of their family that used to be happy. He is about to get sentimental when it suddenly starts raining outside. He hears the sound of his soulmate singing. At this point, he recalls what his brother Ken told him, so he responded seriously for the first time. When the other was careful to say if it would bother him, he told the other to just keep singing. When the other man finished his song, Tai hurriedly messaged his brother Ken. He said that his brother's offer during the day wasn't bad. Leo was used to being on his own at school. The only thing that made him care was the owner of the charm that hung on his bag. He just never found that person. He took out the magazine he had snatched from Ken earlier and opened it to read it. But he didn't expect to run into Ken, who he had snatched the book from. Very unluckily, Ken took the initiative to go up and provoke Leo, asking him if the book was good. Leo said it's not bad. There is a review of this Sunday's Korean movie in it. Ken immediately went on to say that no wonder Leo's grades were so good, but the movie reviews were copied. Leo didn't want to get involved with the sharp-tongued Ken, so he packed up his things and was about to leave, just when Ken and Leo are arguing over the book, because they were too loud in public. They woke up Chris, the senior, who was resting on the side. Chris catches the two of them and gives them a lecture, mocking them as childish children who are trying to steal milk. Ken and Leo, who were admonished, could only reluctantly call a truce. As Tai is leaving the office, he is stopped by Gaia. The other insists on taking the bus with him. Tai meets an abandoned white kitten in front of the office. He can help but go up and take it in his arms. Gaia told him to be careful. In case the cat was not vaccinated, Tai would be in trouble if he got scratched. Tai's heart and eyes are full of this little white cat, and he doesn't listen to what Gaia says. He also named the kin Mimi. Gaia sees that she can persuade Tai to adopt the cat, so he turned to him and told him how to take care of the cat. Unexpectedly, the sky suddenly starts raining, blocking Gaia's voice. Instead, Tai hears his soulmate talking about how cute he thinks that brother is. Tai's face instantly becomes complicated. Tai takes his new friend, Mimi the white cat, back to his house. He rubbed Mimi's body while saying that by following him, he at least had a home. It's a lot better than Mimi going out on her own and wandering. At this point, it just happened to be raining again. The soulmate on the other side explained. During the day he was with his friends, so he said some strange things. He hopes Tai doesn't care, but he decided, unexpectedly. That's when the rain suddenly stopped. Tai didn't listen to what his soulmate said. Tai is haunted by what he didn't hear. Even when he was working at the cafe, he kept thinking about it. Unexpectedly, he was at the cafe and heard the familiar voice of his soulmate. He couldn't help but look at the man. He saw the man's name and the hospital in which he was engaged. Until the man Saturday across from him, Tai peeked at the man every now and then. The man also acted like a gentleman and educated and talked to Tai very patiently. Tai and the man were having a nice conversation. Unexpectedly, a phone call called the man away. At that moment it suddenly started raining, and Tai rushed after the man to be sure of his identity. Tai spoke up and asked the man his name. The man tells Tai that his name is Fat. Tai finally learns his soulmate's name, which turns out to be Fat. He returned to the cafe satisfied that the rain had not stopped. Fat proceeds to finish talking to him about what he didn't hear yesterday. Tai returns home and talks to his kitten about what happened during the day. The relationship he thought he had even started died halfway through. He drew an unhappy post-it note and stuck it on the doll's head. Tai thought back to the day when his parents separated and his dad packed his bags to leave the house. My brother Sam hugged Dad and wouldn't let him go. Tai looked at his impassive mom and questioned her angrily. Instead, Mom tells Tai that he is happiest when he knows nothing. Tai calls his brother Ken to the cafe in the middle of the night when it's raining. Ken thinks he has something very urgent. Turns out Tai just told him he met and recognized his soulmate because he remembers his voice, but the other side should know Tai's identity. And Tai thinks soulmate Fat is super cute. It's just that Fat tells Tai that he's recently got a crush on someone and wants to fight the established fate. Instead, Ken picks up his bag and writes Tai a sticky note. His advice to him was for Tai to not be so cold to his soulmate all the time. With that, he leaves the cafe. Tai anxiously chases after him, but ends up not catching up with his brother. But then he turns around and meets his soulmate Fat once again. The cuddly Fat asks Tai what's so urgent and if there's anything he can help him with. Shy Tai clutches the sticky note in his hand and is speechless for a moment. Fat notices the words, "Don't be indifferent," written on the sticker. He asks Tai what it means. Tai mentally curses his brother, but with his mouth he explains that it's his new article choice. Without waiting for Fat's reaction, Tai leaves first. Fat stares at Tai's back but smiles. Ken sneezes a few times at school. He thought it must have been last night when Tai made him go to the cafe in the rain to get a cold, but he didn't realize that it was just a precursor to bad vibes. Chris, the senior, called to ask for his help, waiting for Ken to change into a big sable and step into long leather boots in 40-degree heat in Thailand. He then reacted to the fact that he'd been tricked by senior Chris. Chris, the senior, said that the actor for the shoot couldn't come at the moment, but the venue cost money to rent and couldn't be wasted, so Ken was called in to help. Originally, Ken heard the script and thought it was quite interesting, but after seeing Leo as his partner, he instantly had the urge to leave. Ken and Leo are not happy with each other, but they are forced down by Chris, their senior. As a result, when filming started, the two of them were a mess in their scenes. Chris had no choice but to call a timeout. Ken volunteered to take a break and shoot the movie first. Leo guides Ken to do the intimacy exercises, resulting in the two of them shooting in one take. Tai has dinner with Gaia but is always distracted. Gaia asks him if he is having relationship problems. Unexpectedly hitting the nail on the head, Tai told Gaia about meeting his soulmate. Kaya could tell right away that it was love at first sight since Tai was so attached to his soulmate. Tai says he doesn't know how to start a conversation with his soulmate in a natural way. Kaya tells Tai if Tai likes that person, all the more reason to take the initiative. After all, that soulmate unilaterally insisted on trying to talk to Tai for 2 years. She told Tai to create a good opportunity to connect with his soulmate. Kaya also gave Tai a brilliant idea. Since Fat is a vet, of course Mimi comes in handy. Tai takes Mimi to Fat's hospital, but he's greeted by another female doctor. Tai can't help but ask about Fat's condition, but doesn't say who he's asking about. The female doctor basically answers all the questions. She also admonished Tai for only giving Mimi 1 vaccination at this point. He must remember to come to the hospital for the 2nd injection in 2 weeks. Tai was carrying Mimi and was about to leave when he bumped into Fat. The two of them were surprised and happy to see each other.
แล้วเรื่องใจหมาเป็นไงบ้าง
Tai said a few incoherent words and hurriedly left with Mimi. Several other doctors gathered around Fat with heartfelt smiles. Ken was a last-minute arrival in his new professor's class. His friends around him laughed at him all the time. The professor assigned the midterm homework in the first class. The professor also put Leo in a group with Ken. Ken protests. Instead, the professor tells them that they can just work with their best friends once they're out in the community. Either they need to learn to be professional. Ken waits a long time for Tai at his mom's door. As soon as they both enter, they see their mom busy working. She told them to go ahead and wait at the table. Ken didn't get very good grades last semester and was counted out by his mom. Mom told him to bring his grades up a little this semester. After all, Ken studied his favorite major. Mom asks Tai how he's doing, and Tai coldly says it's just like that. Mom advises Tai that he can't go abroad to pursue his master's degree. She takes care of all Tai's expenses. Tai asks his mom why on earth she called them back. Mom brews for a while and breaks the news that she's getting remarried to her new boyfriend Ken. Tai can take it and picks up his bag and leaves. Ken chases after her and says it's not right for Tai to leave like that without even talking to her mom. Tai, however, tells Ken now he suddenly feels that creating a connection with his soulmate is not a sensible enough decision. Tai was the child most affected by his parents' divorce, so he moved out early to live alone. That night, Tai was very sad. Just then, he suddenly hears his soulmate Fat kissing someone else. He rushed to apologize to him. Tai, however, just keeps quiet and cries silently alone. Tai bumps into Leo while working at the cafe. Tai asks Leo why he didn't go to class. Leo says it's cancelled and asks Tai why Ken didn't tell him. Tai says he leaves alone. In case they live with Ken, the two of them are sure to fight. Leo is impressed with Tai. Tai also found out that Leo had a lot of books that he liked but didn't have. Leo asked for Tai's address and said he would send Tai's favorite books to him. Tai felt embarrassed. After all, those books are hard to find and expensive. Leo said he would be happy if Tai would buy him a cup of coffee.
ผมก็คิดว่าหนังสือพวกนี้ถ้าได้อยู่ในมือของคนที่รักมันจริงๆผมว่ามันคงจะดีกว่า
He also said that he hopes that his future date, like Tai, can share his hobbies. Tai took Mimi to the pet hospital for her 2nd vaccination. Because of what happened earlier, he really didn't want to meet up with Fat at the hospital, so he silently prayed that it would still be the same doctor's sister from last time. It did turn out to be the same doctor's sister who vaccinated Mimi. Just didn't realize that halfway through the fight, Mimi suddenly jumped off the stage and escaped. A group of people at the hospital then helped Tai catch the cat, making the hospital a mess, until Tai pushes open the office door and the man's chair turns around. It turned out to be Fat holding Mimi. Not bad for you, Mimi, the messenger of love between the two. You just caught Tai off guard with Fat. Is this what fate has in store for us? Whenever there is a misunderstanding between soulmates, someone helps to create an opportunity. So, can Fat actually capitalize on this opportunity? Because of his friendliness and professionalism, there are always people who take up more time to consult with him. James and others were always forced to wait for their friend because of Fat's long counseling time. On this day, after Fat finished his work, he went out for lunch with some friends from the same hospital. While waiting for a bus at a red light, Fat fell in love at first sight with Tai, who was waiting at the bus stop holding his cat. He thought he was very cute. Because it was raining, there was no way for other friends to interact with him, so they typed on their cell phones and asked him. The friends feel that Fat throws away the soulmate setting. It would actually be a good thing if he actually met someone he liked to care about. Unexpectedly, Fat soon meets Tai once again at the cafe. So, what Tai previously thought was a fated chance encounter at the cafe. In fact, it's all the result of Fat's long-planned plan. In order to hook up with Tai earlier, Fat helps the coffee shop owner to divert the queue. He did his best to get his coffee a little early. Fat appeared to be casual, but in fact, he had been premeditating for a long time before he sat her down opposite Tai. Those questions that seemed natural to Tai were also the ones that Fat had been brewing for a long time before asking them. It was also because Fat kept staring at Tai. That's why he almost hit the lady next to him. When he first realized Tai was stretching, it didn't matter what the coffee was. What mattered was that Tai couldn't get burned by it. Phat would have liked to get to know Tai better. Unexpectedly, he was called away by a hospital emergency call. It was raining at this time, and the soulmate across the street asked for his name. He answered and then earnestly told his soulmate he's going to go up against the established fate because he's recently met someone he likes. Tai accidentally breaks into Phat's office while he's at the hospital looking for a lost Mimi. So the job of vaccinating Mimi was passed on to Phat. Phat told Tai, in fact, kittens are a very easily frightened but hard to please creature. That was why they needed to take care of it more carefully. Since Phat's tone was very soft, Tai looked at him and still couldn't help the fluttering in his heart, especially after Phat held his hand and placed it on the kitten. By the time Phat skillfully finished vaccinating the kitten, Tai was also pleasantly surprised that the kitten didn't scream or run away. When Tai smiled and talked to Phat, he suddenly recalled again the things Phat has said in the last 2 rainy days. Tai blushes instantly. He pushed Phat's hand away as he politely thanked Phat for his help today. Ken has been forced to do group work together ever since he and Leo became a group. Leo can't see that he doesn't do his homework properly and watches funny videos all the time. Ken then retorted, how do you know I don't do my homework properly? Leo, think you've done a good job. Leo showed Ken the PPT he had made. Ken reads it but only gives what he feels is a poor review. Phat had wanted to play up his profession and leave some goodwill with Tai, but he did not expect. Tai acted very uninterested in the appearance, bent on holding the kitten to go. After Tai left with the kitten in his arms, his friend who was hiding outside the door hurriedly asked Phat, did he ever catch up with Tai? Phat retorts breathlessly, you think it's like buying clothes? Not to mention that it's not like he was chasing Tai just now, and Tai treated him poorly. What about comparing it to Phat's soulmate? Friend zest. Phat thinks about it for a while, and still says that soulmates are a little harder to handle. Phat declines his friend's offer. He said he had to leave first. Tai, who is at the bus stop, is comforting Mimi, who has been vaccinated, and says that he will go back to buy him a snack. Phat pulls up and asks Tai where he is going next. Tai said he was going home. Phat says he can't give it to Tai, but Tai decisively refuses. Seeing Tai's insistence, Phat drives away. Tai recalls what Phat said earlier and decides that Phat is a playboy who picks up random people. At that moment, Phat suddenly reappears in front of Tai. He smiles and says that since Tai won't take his car, he will wait for the bus with Tai. Tai isn't very happy about it, but he can't say in public himself that Phat should go away. It rains when he says so, and Tai doesn't want Phat to realize that he is Phat's soulmate, so he rushed to cover his mouth. Only when he got on the bus did he let go. He looked out the window at Phat, who was waving at him with his umbrella up, and felt very remorseful. Until now, he can't help but be moved when he sees Phat. Leo and Ken bicker over group work. Ken shows Leo the material. Leo could tell at a glance that Tai had written the article. Ken was surprised. Leo prevaricated a few times. He tells Ken that it's just that Tai's writing is good or it doesn't work. Ken blames Leo for having a problem with him and why he didn't just say so in the professor's class. Leo retorts that it's Ken's fault for making provocative remarks in the professor's class. Neither of them can convince the other, so they decide to conceptualize their assignments separately and see which one the professor chooses. Tai gets a date with Gaia at the bar. Tai enters the bar and picks a seat near the stage as per Gaia's request, but not long after he sits down, he sees a very handsomely dressed Phat walking towards him head-on. As it turns out, Phat is here tonight for a friend's birthday party and just happens to be meeting Tai at a bar. She turned her head and saw it. Tai sitting in the seat next to them. Phat asks Tai if he can't read the menu. After all, he's holding it upside down. Tai is embarrassed and puts the menu back on its right side. Phat asks Tai why he called him a playboy. Tai says with conviction that Phat seems to be nice to everyone. Phat was just about to retort when he was called away by his friends. Tai waits until Gaia and the guys arrive and realizes that everyone is dressed up except himself. But it doesn't matter. Tai chose a good location. Phat had been staring at Tai all night until he was dragged on stage to sing by a friend who had a birthday. Tai listened to Phat holding his guitar and singing the song he had written, and it got harder. He picked up Gaia's wine glass and just started drinking wine. When he turned his head, he also saw Phat smiling at him after the song. Tai got drunk in a few glasses due to his poor drinking skills. There was no way he could continue the next action with Gaia and the others, so he decided to take a cab home first. Tai sits on the side of the road to sober up after he faints and fails to get a taxi. Then he meets Phat, who has been staring at him all night and has come to see him specifically. Tai was even more reckless because he was drunk. He not only grabbed Phat's arm, he bit it hard. He also calls Phat a playboy in one breath. Unaware of this and bitten, Phat is about to ask for clarification. Tai, on the other hand, is drunk and passes out at that exact moment. When Tai woke up, he realized that he was lying in a very strange bed. Not only did he not recognize the room, but the clothes he was wearing were not his. He panicked and got up to see what was going on. Instead, he ends up seeing a picture of Phat in his living room. Tai is speechless to himself, and more embarrassment was yet to come. Phat then wrote a little note specifically to help Tai remember all the things that happened when he was drunk. First of all, it wasn't Phat who didn't send Tai back to his house. Instead, Tai has a death grip on Phat's arm telling him not to go, not to leave him. He also puked all over Phat and himself in the process. So, Phat had no choice but to take Tai back to his house. Secondly, Tai's clothes were changed by himself. Phat just handed Tai his own clothes. Tai's clothes he washed and dried on the rooftop. If it's not dry, Tai can go home first in his own clothes. Last but not least, Phat is not a dude. He hasn't toyed with anyone's feelings or done the foot in the door thing. He also requests Tai to consider that he and Phat get to know each other better. Ken and Leo are called by the professor after a class. The professor told them that the subject was not going to pass for them because they didn't work together on it. Ken argues with the professor that the professor should have thrown out the collaboration and just evaluated the subject matter. The professor explains that they have to follow the professional process of making a movie instead of the people doing their own thing and ignoring each other. Ken still wants to argue, but Leo pulls his hand in time. Ken looks at Leo with ripples in his heart. With that, he shrugs off Leo's hand. Phat meets, by accident, his ex-girlfriend Jenny at the vet hospital with her dog for a visit. Jenny tells Phat that she accidentally caught fleas after taking the dog for a walk in the park. Phat holds the dog and prepares to go for a checkup. Jenny, however, tells Phat that wants to go back to the old days with him, especially after what happened that night. She's even more sure of herself. It turns out that what Tai heard that rainy day, the person Phat kissed was her ex-girlfriend Jenny. Phat recalls the reason why she broke up with Jenny before. In fact, it was Jenny who initiated the breakup because she can't stand the fact that every time it rains, Phat is always trying to talk to her soulmate. Phat was very much in love with Jenny at that time, even though he tried his best to stay away later. In the end, he didn't leave Jenny, who was determined to break up with him. Since Ken was held hands by Leo, he always felt that he was always strange in his heart. He tries to hold hands with other friends, but none of them have the same feeling as when he held hands with Leo. All his other friends passed the selection, so they thought that Ken was the one who was devastated because he didn't pass the selection. Ken, however, is agonizing over the stirrings in his heart. Phat is torn about his ex-girlfriend, Jenny, coming to him to get back together. His friend comes to console him and asks for his thoughts. Phat says that he knows exactly who he likes now and who his heart is with. Not to mention that even if he got back together with Jenny without Tai, he would still run into the same problems. Seeing Phat so distressed, his friend points out that it was Phat who kissed Jenny that night, so he gave Jenny the wrong signals. Phat, however, feels that he has made it clear to Jenny there is no way they can go back to the old days. In order to make Phat happy, the friend suggests a race. Whoever gets to the dinner place first wins. When the two went downstairs, they saw Tai waiting outside the hospital. The friend is very witty and says that he has to go home for dinner with his mom and leaves early. Phat acted happy about the fact that Tai came to him of his own accord and laughed a lot. He also teases Tai that he looks nothing like he did that night when he was drunk. Tai has to say that he has come to return Phat's clothes. Phat, however, asks him very bluntly, does he figure out how to answer the request he left on the note? Wanting to know more about Tai, Tai carefully replies that he doesn't know why Phat wants to know more about him, but now that Phat had brought it up, and he himself is going to try and take a step out to spend time with Phat, Phat happily comes into Tai's ear and invites him to join him for dinner. Phat takes Tai to a very upscale hotel for a candlelight dinner. Tai is a bit overwhelmed, but Phat tells him to relax though. Phat very sweetly orders for Tai, who looks at the menu and doesn't know what to order. Phat teases Tai that it looks like a shaved kitten now. Tai asks him why. Phat explained to him that when kittens are shaved of their whiskers, they can't be indistinguishable from objects, so it becomes careful to test its surroundings. Impressed by this explanation from Phat, Tai says that it is indeed true. He himself doesn't like to leave the house when he's fine. Tai looks at the table full of food and tells Phat that he can't actually eat all this without having to come here specially. Phat laughs and says it's true that this meal would cost him half a month's salary. Seeing that Tai is really shocked, Phat explains that it's not that much. He just wants to get to know Tai better and know what he likes to eat. That way, the two could be a little closer. Also, he wanted to be the missing part of Tai's beard. Phat drives Tai home. Tai reminds him to go back early. It will rain soon. Tai is stopped by Phat as he leaves. Phat reminds Tai that his shoelace is coming apart. Tai bends down to tie his shoe and Phat squats down to watch him. When Tai gets home, he recalls every proximity with Phat. Every word Phat said. Tai finds it all sweet and heartwarming. Tai also wrote a special sticky note saying that she is very traditional and prefers flowers and dates. Tai sees that it's raining outside. For the first time, Phat calls out his name accurately and asks him if he has reached home. Tai is surprised when Phat knows that he is his soulmate. Phat laughs and says he can't explain to Tai but doesn't want to tell all. Because Tai, when drunk, is just too cute. He just wanted to cherish that memory silently in his heart. In fact, it was Tai who told Phat about the incident when he was drunk and confused. Tai leans on his shoulder and says that Phat is a very tolerant person. Even if he never responded to Phat, he kept on conversing with himself for 2 years. Phat then realizes that the soulmate, who has been refusing to pay attention to him, is Tai. Phat also tells Tai he once told Tai about meeting someone he liked, so he wanted to fight his destiny, and that person he likes is actually Tai too. It's just that he didn't expect it. The object of his love at first sight and his fated soulmate would be the same person. Tai is thrilled and touched to hear it. He also asks Phat if there is anything else he wants to tell him. Phat smiles and says no. Tai happily greets Phat seriously for the first time, because this person is not only his favorite person, but also his destined soulmate. What Phat doesn't actually tell Tai is this: Tai, who was drunk that night, not only adorably pouted at him, he also thanked Phat for putting up with him for 2 years and not giving up on ever talking to him on a rainy day. That two, who were looking at each other in all directions, were kissed by Tai on his own accord, and they kissed each other hard. Phat even took off his suit jacket, but Tai fell asleep without a word. An accidental drunkenness finally clears up the misunderstanding between the two. What heartwarming story will unfold after the revelation that the two are soulmates? What's it like when the person you like has a crush on your brother? Ken has a grudge against Leo for holding his hand and messing with his heart. He neither wants to go to Leo easily to confirm his feelings, but he's so disturbed by this that he can't eat or sleep well. So Ken comes to see his brother Tai. Tai tells Ken with great certainty, "Son, you're obviously in love." Ken looks thoughtful, but he thought, "Not right, Tai, you have never been in love." How to teach him? Tai said with a stiff upper lip. How he is also a small writer who has written so many columns. Ken got to the bottom of it and had to ask Tai what was going on. Tai had to tell him he's gone to meet his soulmate and in reality know who each other is. Ken sighs excitedly into the air. Tai finally takes a small step of his own and no longer has to suffer through mom and dad's feelings. Ken also presses Tai on how far he's gone with his soulmate. Because Tai didn't want to be pressed further, he immediately pretended that he was sleepy and wanted to go back to his room to sleep. Left alone in the living room, Ken can only cling to his little pillow with pity and helplessness. Before Tai left for work, he told Ken to take good care of the house. Little did he realize that he hadn't taken 2 steps before he ran into Phat, who had been waiting for him for who knows how long. In front of the house, he looked left and right, afraid that Ken would pop up again. After confirming that no one was there, he asked Phat why he was waiting here so early in the morning. Phat laughs and says that the hospital where he works is very close to where Tai works. Tai asks him in case he leaves early or doesn't work today. Does Phat have to wait here all the time? Phat pathetically tells Tai that it's not like he has Tai's phone number or Tai's Wicket. Tai laughed helplessly. This was not an excuse to ask for his contact information. After some discussion in the car, Tai asked Phat to give him his cell phone. Tai also politely asked Phat to save his number. Of course Phat is happy too. Tai also told Phat, in future, if you want to do something that requires his company, you can't let him know in advance. They could take their time getting to know each other. Tai also promises to make up for the 2 years that Phat didn't respond. Phat extends his hand and tells Tai that he can't start making amends directly by holding his hand. When Tai puts his hand in Phat's, Phat is satisfied and holds Tai's hand tightly. Phat wonders why Tai didn't respond to him those 2 years. Tai ponders for a while and tells Phat the reason he doesn't respond to him is actually because of Tai's parents. Because of his parents' divorce, Tai never believed in soulmates or a natural couple again. Phat feels sorry for Tai at that time. It must have taken him a long time to get through that tough time. Tai told Phat it did take him a long time to relieve himself of his emotions, but it was also because of a senior who encouraged him every time he was frustrated and helpless. Phat is very concerned about who that senior is and whether he is a man or a woman. Tai, however, laughs and explains that he has never actually met that senior. Phat drops Tai in front of the office and is also seen by Tai's co-workers. Gaia also saw Tai and was very curious to know about his affair with Phat. When they get to the cafe, Tai tells Gaia, Dr. Phat, the vet, is his soulmate. Gaia thinks it's strange because Tai had told her before that he didn't want to bother with souls anymore. Tai shyly replies that it was originally intended that way before, but after getting to know Phat for real, Tai realizes that he is really nice. That's why he wants to get to know each other better. Gaia is happy that Tai is able to open his heart and try to fall in love with his soulmate. Tai meets Leo at the cafe. After Leo ordered his coffee, he walked straight to sit down opposite Tai. He still had both eyes on Tai. Gaia was going to gossip a bit, Now's stomach suddenly became uncomfortable, so she hurriedly ran to the restroom. Leo saw that he and Tai were the only two left before asking if Tai was writing an article. He also gave Tai a couple of very pertinent suggestions. Tai finds Leo's suggestion of Rear's perspective interesting. Tai sees that it is raining outside, and Fat asks him if they can have dinner together in the evening. Tai replies over here to himself. Leo, however, wonders why Tai is talking to himself. Tai writes a post-it note to Leo saying that he has sudden rainy day deafness. Just now he was talking to his soulmate. Leo leaves early because he has a class to attend. Tai goes to the toilet but tells Tai, who has finished his work, that Leo must be interested in him. Tai thinks that Gaia is overthinking it and that Leo is just his younger brother. Tai turns around and almost bumps into Fat, who suddenly appears behind him. Tai formally introduces Fat to Gaia. Fat also extends his hand and introduces himself as Tai's soulmate. Due to Gaia's overexcitement, she clutched Fat's hand with both her hands and would not let go. Tai is a little jealous and looks sharply at Gaia. He then hooked Fat with his own little finger. Gaia saw this and instantly understood. On her way out, she taps Tai on the shoulder and tells him that Fat is nice yo. Tai asks Fat if he can't go with him to do some errands first if he doesn't have a restaurant reservation. Unexpectedly, Tai pulls Fat straight to Dad's restaurant. Fat, who doesn't know the inside story, looks at the table full of food and the chef who refuses to leave. Unsure, it's not until Tai opens his mouth and calls the chef's dad that he starts to get nervous. Tai's dad says that he never thought he would get to meet Tai's soulmate in his life. Taken aback, Fat rushes to get up and straighten his clothes. Then he puts his hands together and formally greets Tai's dad. Tai's dad tells Fat to relax. Tai's dad mainly wanted to have some fun teasing his future daughter-in-law. Fat's mood instantly relaxes, a lot seeing how easygoing Tai's dad is. Tai's dad tells Fat, don't look at Tai, who usually seems understanding, but he's actually the hardest to please of the 4 sons. Fat, however, is surprised that there are 4 sons in their family. When Fat goes to the bathroom, Tai's dad tries to enlighten Tai about his mom's remarriage. Tai's dad admits that he is still in love with his ex-wife, but Tai felt that the parents are just whitewashing and pretending that nothing happened. Seeing that Tai is getting a little heated in his argument with his dad, Fat comes out in time to interrupt the conversation between the two. Tai's dad instructs Fat alone as the two leave. He tells him that soulmates can't go far with just love, but he believes that Fat will take good care of Tai. Fat and Tai are on a walk and talk about the 4 brothers in Tai's family. Tai then introduces them to him carefully. Eric, the eldest brother, is a very powerful man but a very good patriarch. Ken, the 3rd brother, is crazy but closest to Tai. The youngest brother, Sam, seldom saw Tai because he lived with his mom, but the 4 of them have always had a good relationship. Fat asks Tai if it's because his parents don't quite believe in soulmates even now. Tai tells Fat that the image of the day his parents got divorced has always been hovering in his mind, but after meeting Fat, he feels happy, so he is thankful to Fat. Fat also holds Tai's hand tightly and tells him that he is the same. Tai suggests that Fat can take shelter in his house first because of the sudden rain. Fat is pleasantly surprised by Tai's invitation. Unexpectedly, he can't go to Tai's house so soon. By the time Tai leads Fat into the house, both of them are actually soaked through. Tai finds the biggest clothes in his house and gives them to Fat so that he can take a shower first. He himself stays in his room to change. Unexpectedly, Fat couldn't find the towel for a while, so he pushed the door directly and asked Tai. Fat hurriedly closed the door and said sorry. Tai turned around and put on his own blanket. Then, with difficulty, he moved to the door and handed Fat the bath towel. Fat thought back to what he'd seen earlier. Tai fully clothed. He couldn't help but go. Tai was very mindful of the fact that Fat had accidentally seen him naked. Even when he was lying in bed, he was thinking back about it. Fat knocked on Tai's door after his shower and said that he could go and take a shower. Tai carefully gets up to take a shower and turns around but refuses to meet Fat's eyes. Fat asks him if he's shy and Tai retorts that he's not. Fat then says he didn't see anything at all and reassures Tai. But Tai doesn't believe Fat and turns around and says that Fat is lying. He tentatively asks Fat if he didn't see anything, then he must not have seen the scars on his body either. Fat subconsciously returned. Where are the scars on you? I don't see them. When Fat reacts, he realizes he's been tricked by Tai. Fat said helplessly, what compensation does Tai need to forgive him? And what does he himself have to do for Tai not to get angry? Fat makes a move to take off his towel. Tai darts in and out to stop it. Then he was solidly on top of Fat. Tai watched shyly as the half-naked Fat was pinned beneath him. The two kissed each other with great affection. Fat's hands gradually roamed over Tai's body as well, just as they were getting carried away and kissing deeper and deeper. Fat, who had suddenly come to his senses, stops just in time. He says that he won't do such things until Tai is ready. Fat tells Tai that he will wait till the day when Tai is willing.
พี่อยากให้ต้ายรู้ไว้นะว่าต้ายสำคัญกับพี่มากแค่ไหน
Already shy, Tai grabs a towel from the floor and escapes to the bathroom to take a shower. Phat asks for a picture of Tai's parents to ease his embarrassment. Tai explains to him that the photo shows his parents going to Mae Pinh, a mountain in Chiang Mai where it rains all the time, because there is a local legend. By climbing to the top of the mountain, any wish made will come true, and it was on Mae Pinh Hill that Tai's dad proposed to his mom, but they didn't escape divorce in the end. Phat remembers what Tai's dad told him earlier. He then understood what Tai's dad meant. Phat puts his hands on the back of Tai's hands and leans his whole body against him in order to comfort the lost Tai. He gently told him that he could accompany Tai to visit Mae Pinh Shan in the future. That way, maybe Tai would be able to understand his parents' choice. Tai glances at Phat's overly close hand, and Phat hurriedly withdraws it for the social assistance program led by Phat. Phat settled on Mae Pinh Hill in Chiang Mai. There are 5 small villages in that neighborhood. Because of lack of medical resources and lack of local awareness, so many critters don't get timely treatment. Other hospital peeps think Phat has a point. The seniors were afraid there wouldn't be enough men. Phat they then said that they had also contacted the college in advance and would call for volunteers. Ken and Leo worked together to help Chris with his short movie, which got Chris a high score. Chris asked them to go to the killing banquet. Leo was just about to refuse when Chris made it mandatory that he had to go. Ken, on the other hand, goes wherever the action is. The two promise to attend a party at Chris' house. Phat makes an appointment with Tai and talks about the hospital's social assistance program at Mae Pinh Shan. They're calling for volunteers now, and he wants to ask Tai to go with him. Tai, however, feels that he is not ready to face it. He rejects Phat outright. Despite feeling a bit lost, Phat reassures Tai that he understands him and that it's okay, but he followed it up by saying he asks Tai to climb Mae Pinh Hill with him so that they can better understand the meaning of soulmates. After listening to Phat, Tai is thoughtful. Ken has been drinking at Chris' party right from the start. Leo, who is an average drinker, was also enthusiastically showered with drinks by Chris, but I didn't realize Ken was a terrible drinker. Chris took a bunch of people outside to get ice. All that was left in the house was a half-drunk Leo and an almost fully drunk Ken. Leo looks at Ken so drunk, not at all like he usually looks when he sees him with his tit open. So, he agreed that Ken would sleep against him. Unexpectedly, Ken directly laid down on his knee and also fell asleep quickly. Leo looked at Ken seriously. For a moment he can't tell if he's looking at Ken or the guy who's a brother to Ken. Tai takes a cab to pick up his drunken brother Ken. That's how he met up with Leo, who was helping Ken out. Tai rushes to pick up his drunken brother and helps Ken to the car. He also confides in Leo that Ken isn't very heavy. Leo laughs and replies that it's a good thing. He's still sober enough to call Tai to come pick him up. Tai tells Leo he thanked him for taking care of Ken, and if there was anything he needed from him in the future, he could always say so. Leo immediately replied, just buy him a meal. Tai agreed. He also goes along and asks for Tai's contact info. Ken's head hurts from his hangover and he sits down with Leo and complains loudly. Leo thinks it's awesome that he's drunk like that and still just came to class. Ken, however, asks Leo if he didn't do anything while he was drunk. Leo remembers Ken lying drunk and sleeping on his lap and pushes Ken away. He replies to him sheepishly that of course nothing happened. Ken, however, says that he's usually cute when he's drunk, but he's got a headache and a backache now, so someone must have hit him. Ken holds his head in despair. He thinks Tai will definitely tell his family. At this time, a classmate comes to them and hands out flyers calling for volunteers. It just so happened to be Phat and his hospital program. Ken and Leo instantly thought that this material could be used as fodder for their documentary. So, they immediately decided to go for this charity program. Ken asked Leo to organize the materials for the PPT. Leo was very unconvinced and asked Ken what he was going to do. Ken rightly returned, of course he is the one who is going to do the presentation PPT. 2 weeks later, Phat and the gang were ready to leave for Mae Pinh Shan. Phat was also jointly teased by the other pals for acting too lost. Just then, Tai suddenly appears in front of Phat with Gaia. Phat is naturally pleasantly surprised. Tai explains that he really didn't want to go at first, but when he got back that day, he thought long and hard about Phat's words. He felt that in Mae Pinh Shan, he might actually find the answers he was looking for. So he suggested to his boss that he would do a feature on community veterinarians. On the other end, Ken and Leo drove to Chiang Mai, but since Ken slept all the way through it, there's still the whole going down to take pictures thing going on all the time. Leo, who had driven all the way, was about to have a meltdown. Gaia is excited to arrive in Chiang Mai, until she saw a girl in traditional Chiang Mai dress, very made up, appear holding an umbrella. The other girl said her name was Alma and that she was the staff member responsible for arranging the volunteer camp this time. She made a point of emphasizing to people to a room. Tai instantly panicked and went to find Gaia, but this time Gaia refused the offer to share a room with Tai. she's going to find her new friends. Fat suddenly appears behind the entangled Tai, thinking that he can escape. Tai can only go with Fat obediently. Gaia is also assigned to Alma, the last person she wants to live with. Fat left something in the car and asked Tai to wait for him for a while. At this time, Ken and Leo also arrived at the volunteer camp. They also happened to run into Tai by coincidence. Both parties were surprised to meet here. Ken says he's here to finish his homework. Tai explains to them that this volunteer camp is led by the hospital where his soulmate is. Ken is excited to meet his brother Tai's soulmate, but Leo is not acting very friendly towards Tai's soulmate. That's when Fat happens to come over and runs right into the scene, where soulmates and rivals meet unexpectedly. What kind of fight will happen between them? Who will be the first to settle down with Tai? He finds it strange. Tai introduces Fat to his brother Ken and Ken's classmate Leo. Ken is very interested in Fat and wants to ask more about his brother's state, but he is stopped by Leo, who tells Ken to report to the volunteer camp with him first. Fat takes Tai back to the room where the two are staying, as there is only one bed in the room. Fat tells Tai that he can't choose first the side he likes to sleep on. Tai wasn't quite used to the whole sharing a room with Fat thing. Fat, however, can't resist hugging him. Tai thought back to the last time, the image of the two of them sharing a room, and almost having something indescribable happen. He panicked and hurriedly peeled Fat's hand away. Fat laughs and stares at Tai's back as he runs off in a lurch, but thinks his boyfriend is really cute. Ken was different from Tai. As soon as he went in and saw the bed he shared with Leo, he jumped the gun and chose the side he preferred to sleep on. Leo said it was his choice and asked Ken to hand him the camera. At this moment, Ken realizes that the keychain hanging on Leo's back looks familiar. Leo cherished the keychain and said it was an important item for him. Ken, however, tells Leo that the keychain probably belongs to someone he knows well. Leo is desperate for Ken to tell him who that person is. Tai and Gaia are assigned to work in the kitchen. Tai asks Gaia who her roommate is. Gaia is upset and tells Tai that it's Tony, the one across the street who's all pouty with the boys. Tai, however, thinks that Tony and Gaia are perfect for each other and are the perfect two people to be in the same house. Ken tried very hard to think back and still couldn't remember who the owner of the keychain was. Seeing Leo's disappointment, he asks him if the owner of the keychain is important to him. Leo tells him that the owner of the keychain once saved his life. After arguing, Ken and Leo decide to end the subject and take their cameras out to shoot. They happen to see Gaia and Tai preparing ingredients. Ken tells Leo to set up his camera and shoot some footage of the cooking. Leo stares at Tai one way or another as he shoots. Tai subconsciously returned a sweet smile to the camera. Leo smiles even more at this. Gaia subconsciously poses when she sees a camera filming her. At this moment, Fat passes by with the little ones. The little ones are saying that Tai's cute. Fat, yet again, notices that Leo is staring at Tai in a strange way. Fat keeps looking around, waiting for Tai and refuses to eat. The guys see this waiting look on his face and tease Fat that he hasn't finalized his relationship yet. You just look at the object so closely. They also took special care of Ken and Leo. They said that anything you need to do with the shoot, you can't talk to them. Fat finally waited for Tai. He hurriedly patted the chair beside him, signaling him to sit over. Gaia and the rest of the small group watched them in silence. Ken suddenly voices out, since the seniors are friends with their brother's object, they will definitely take care of themselves. Leo suddenly says that Tai is not yet Fat's object. This made the atmosphere very awkward all of a sudden. Ken calls out to Leo and is very unhappy with what he just said. Leo blames Ken for not taking Tai's feelings into consideration. Fat, along with his hospital buddies, is busy treating the small animals in the nearby village. Ken and Leo just shoot the material on the side. Ken has a special interview with Fat as he follows him. He asked him why he had so many supplies for this event. Fat tells Ken, every time they do this kind of charity event, because it is impossible to estimate how many numbers of small animals there are. That's why they all bring enough supplies in advance. The villagers were thankful to Fat for their help. The kids all swarmed around Fat and hugged them. When Tai was helping with the dishes in the kitchen, Tony kept trying to get up and teach him how to do them. Gaia can't stand it, so she and Tony grab at the sink. Unexpectedly, Tai, who was watching the scene, was affected and spilled water all over him. Tai is helpless, but the two run away after the trouble. Tai brought cold drinks to Gaia, who was organizing the water. He told Gaia that he hadn't felt this warm atmosphere since he graduated. After all, Tai has always been afraid of crowded places. Gaia, however, teases Tai, saying that it's obvious that Tai has been smiling ever since he came here. Gaia seriously asked Tai why he didn't hurry up and formalize his relationship with Fat, though she, being an outsider, might have crossed the line a bit by saying that, but she's always been close to Tai, and very much wants Tai to be happy with Fat. Tai listens to Gaia's words and gets deep in thought.
พี่ก็ไม่อยากให้ใต้กับหมอพัดต้องเจอกับปัญหาที่เกิดจากคนอื่น
Leo finds out that Ken is upset with him over his brother Tai. So he asks Ken why he cares so much about his brother. Ken says that as long as Leo doesn't have those weird thoughts in his mind, his attitude wouldn't be like that. Leo apologizes to Ken and explains that it just doesn't believe in soulmates as a setup. It's like you can't even control your own destiny. Ken, on the other hand, thinks completely differently. Ken thinks that if one suffers from sudden rainy day, deafness and doesn't find their soulmate, that person would be very lonely. And on a rainy day, the only way to hear each other is to hear each other's voices in this setting. That in itself is very romantic. Leo jokes about Ken. He'd obviously never been in a relationship before, yet he always acted like he'd had a lot of experience. Ken doesn't really want to pay attention to him and even wants him to hurry up and go away. Leo looks at Ken's serious side shot and can't help but grab his camera and snap a picture of Ken. Ken asks him why he didn't say so ahead of time, so he could strike a handsome pose. Leo just spits at Ken and says that it would have been very deliberate. It's just the right look to capture. Ken, in an attempt to counter, also mimics Leo's usual pretense of stability in his eyes. Leo lies on the grass and sleeps while waiting for Ken, who is filming. Ken saw a very nice starry sky and hurriedly called Leo up. The two of them just lay side by side, quietly looking at the same stunning starry sky. At night, Tai lies in bed and can sleep no matter what. Fat thinks he woke Tai up. Tai, however, says no. Seeing Fat moving his shoulders around and looking uncomfortable, Tai suggests that he could give Fat a massage. Fat lay on Tai's lap and allowed Tai to gently press his temples. Tai is embarrassed by Fat's blazing eyes. Fat, however, compliments Tai for looking cute even like this. Tai couldn't resist kissing Fat. The kiss grew deeper and deeper between the two. Fat also took off Tai's and his own tops in the process. The atmosphere gradually became ambiguous and anxious. Unexpectedly, this time it is Tai who calls for a halt first. Fat helplessly rests his head on Tai's chest. Tai, however, suddenly speaks up and offers to help relieve Fat. Fat is pleasantly surprised and asks Tai if he is sure. Is this okay? The screen goes black and it won't be able to pass the censor if it's shown again. After warming up, Fat wraps his arms tightly around Tai and keeps rubbing the back of his hand. The relationship between the two had clearly taken a step further because of their intimacy tonight. When Tai wakes up, he realizes that Fat got up first and went to work. He also left a sticky note for Tai saying, seeing Tai sleeping so soundly, he couldn't bear to wake Tai up. Moreover, when he finished his work, he would have no more work, and then he could go to climb a pension with Tai. When Tai goes to help in the kitchen, he meets an unfamiliar schoolmate. Tai asks Gaia who that person is. Gaia wasn't sure. She just said she had just come to help out at the volunteer camp in the morning. Tai and this cute schoolmate named Jenny unexpectedly get along very well. Jenny even said that she came here to make peace with her ex-boyfriend this time, because even after all this time, she still remembers that her ex-boyfriend likes fried eggs with less oil and carrots cut into flowers. Tai told Jenny that she could make up with her ex-boyfriend, but what Tai didn't realize was that Jenny's ex-boyfriend was Fat. Tai makes a bento lunch for Fat. He teased Ken a couple times when he met his brother on the road. Tai said the bento wasn't Ken's. Ken's meal is over there, the kind that is not special and still ordinary. Tai is on his way to look for Fat when he accidentally meets a senior and a sister from the hospital. They keep trying to find excuses to get rid of Tai, but to Tai's surprise, a more innocent sidekick enthusiastically points him in the direction of Fat. Tai rushes off to find Fat. Then he saw the image of Jenny Senpai pressing Fat's neck and kissing him. The time went back to a few minutes ago. Fat is organizing his things and is surprised to see Jenny, who has come to look for him. Jenny tells him that it was his little friend who told herself that Fat is here. Fat is surprised to see Jenny here. Jenny tells Fat that she cooked Fat's favorite dish and came to ask Fat to get back together. Fat tells Jenny that there is no way for the two of them to go back to the old days. I blame myself for not being explicit with Jenny before. Jenny cries and says, then why did you kiss me 2 months ago? Fat explains that he was drunk at that time and lost his mind. Jenny reluctantly pulled Fat over with one hand and went up to him and kissed him. This also happens to be seen by Tai, who comes to look for Fat. Tai drops his lunchbox and runs away in a panic, waiting for Jenny to kiss Fat again. It is only then that she actually feels that Fat has no feelings for her anymore. She sadly asks Fat if he already has someone he likes. Fat tells her that he has found his soulmate. Jenny then gives up completely and cries goodbye to Fat. On the other hand, Tai, for a moment, can take the shock of the image of Jenny kissing Fat. He kept coming back to the questions he had always had about his soulmate. He takes one look at Mei Pingshan and leaves the volunteer camp alone. Fat was returning to the volunteer camp when he saw the lunchbox thrown on the road. Though he finds it strange, he brings it back by hand. He calls Tai but can't get through. When he gets back to the camp, he realizes that Tai is not here at all. Seeing this, Fat's buddy comes and explains to Fat. They just met Tai. and were trying to stop Tai from going over to Fat but couldn't. Fat then realizes that most likely Tai saw Jenny kissing him. Jenny returns to the camp and realizes from the others that Tai is Fat's soulmate. She blamed herself very much for affecting Fat's relationship with Tai by showing up. She instructs Fat to find Tai. Ken and Fat, they searched all around the village and the campground and couldn't find Tai. Fat was checking back to his room when he saw the note he had left. He speculates that Tai might have gone to Mahattanapruet alone. Fat tells Ken that his brother Tai might have gone to Mahattanapruet. Ken is desperate to rush to Mahattanapruet to look for Tai, but is stopped by Leo, who is following him. Leo tells Ken to be sensible. If something happens to them, even if they go to the mountain alone to look for Tai, it will only add to the trouble for those who stayed at the camp. Ken cries and says that he knows why Tai went to Mahattanapruet. It's because their parents suffered from rainy day sudden deafness. Dad had proposed to Mom at Mahattanapruet, but in the end, the natural couple separated. Ken blames himself a lot. He himself was clearly the one who had the most inside knowledge of everyone present, but he didn't have the first thought of where his brother had gone. Leo looks at a broken Ken and goes up and hugs him. Leo tells Ken he was right there with Ken, and Ken's brother Tai was sure nothing would happen to him. Ken cries and throws himself into Leo's arms. Tai went up the mountain alone in the hot sun. He accidentally rolled down a hill because of the physical strain of the road. That's how he fainted by the stream. Fat walked all the way without finding any sign of Tai. When it suddenly started raining heavily, Fat loudly asked Tai where he was, half asleep. Tai tries to respond to Fat. On the other hand, Leo is also looking for Tai. In the midst of this downpour, he also accidentally hears Tai and Fat communicating as well. He also faints as a result. Based on the information given by Tai, Fat finds the fainted Tai by the stream and Mahattanapruet. When Tai opens his eyes, he sees Fat, who has been guarding his side. When Fat sees Tai waking up, his heart finally settles down a bit. Tai asks him how he found himself. Fat smiles and replies that of course he can't find Tai because they are soulmates. Fat holds Tai so that he can slowly stand up. Tai was unable to walk due to a sprained ankle. Fat carried Tai down the hill on his back. After walking for a while, Tai wanted to come down for a rest. Fat rushes to put him down, stopping by to check on Tai's sprained ankle. Tai looks at Fat, who is also in a state of distress. Fat calls Tony and tells them that he has found Tai. They are now at the foot of Mahattanapruet and ask them to send a car to pick up the two at their convenience. Tai tells Fat that he is sorry and that he should have run out on his own in a moment of caprice. He was the one who caused everyone to worry along with him. He also tells Fat that he is not mad at Fat or Jenny-san. He just saw Fat and Jenny coupling up, so he was confused about his relationship with Fat. Maybe what they thought was their soulmate wasn't what they thought it was. That's why he wants to come to Mahattanapruet for answers. Fat tells Tai to rule out soulmates and rainy day sudden deafness. He will still choose Tai because he really loves Tai very much. Tai, with tears in his eyes, says seriously to Fat he used to think that once he made it to the top, all the puzzles he encountered would be answered. But as he gradually climbed, he realized Mahattanapruet is just a location to prove something. It doesn't really have any substance. Instead, he felt that the most important thing at the moment was that Fat was here, right by his side. This is more important than any proof. Fat was also very touched to hear this from Tai. He pulled Tai over and just kissed Tai deeply on his forehead. Fat also moved behind Tai and hugged Tai tightly from behind. He pouts that he feels cold and needs Tai to cuddle to get better. The two returned to the same intimate atmosphere they had before. Fat and Tai woke up to the sun. After they exchanged good morning greetings, Fat asks Tai if he slept well. Tai nods and tells Fat that the environment is obviously so harsh. He leaned against Fat but felt safe, so he was able to feel an odd comfort. Fat stares at Tai, who is laughing. He asks Tai very seriously if he wants to be his boyfriend. Tai replies with a sincere kiss. The two of them press their foreheads against each other, enjoying the rare warmth of the moment. At that moment, Tony also found them in his car. Tony also gave them blankets and took them back to camp. Tai was wrapped up in a small blanket and received a lot of attention and questions from the crowd. Taya and Ken in particular hated to stick it to him. Tai apologized to everyone. Ken also threatens Tai that if he does it again, he won't recognize Tai as his brother. Leo stood by and looked at Tai with complicated eyes. He recalled the image of himself fainting on a rainy day. At that time, he clearly heard Tai and Fat conversing. In the same way, Leo had gotten rainy day sudden deafness when he was 20 years old. What the hell is going on here? Are so-called soulmates really just a scientific phenomenon? When Leo opens his eyes, he realizes that he is already in his room. Ken falls asleep on the side of his bed. Ken sees Leo awake and asks Leo worriedly, why did he suddenly faint? Was it because he was always supporting Leo that made him tired? Leo, who hadn't slowed down yet, didn't answer. The big brother from the camp comes into the room and tells Ken that they have Tai and Fat back at the camp. Ken jumps into his arms as soon as he sees his brother. Tai apologizes again, but turns his head and notices that something is very wrong with Leo, who has followed Ken here. He looked at himself with an incredibly complicated look in his eyes as well. Tai takes it upon himself to ask Leo what happened. Leo prevaricated a few times, but Fat, surrounded by his friends, also unconsciously frowns in the direction Leo is looking. Jenny comes to Tai, who is resting in his room, and asks Tai if she can talk to him. Tai takes Jenny into the room. Jenny talks to him. If she had known that Tai was Fat's soulmate, she wouldn't have done such a thing herself. Tai, however, understands what Jenny is doing. He adds that he has actually learned a lot. Jenny looks at her cute schoolmate Tai and sincerely blesses Tai and Fat. He also said that he could feel that they really liked each other. Finally, before leaving, she whispers something to Tai about Fat's intimate topics. It made Tai very shy. After Jenny's schoolmates talked this out, it did pass completely on Tai's side. On the other side, Fat announces to the crowd that he and Tai confessed successfully at Meiping Shen. The two are officially together. Everyone is happy for him, especially Gaia, Fat's pals. On the other hand, felt that it would not be a good look to tease the young couple, but they believed, with the change in the relationship of these two, there might be more topics for them to make fun of. Gaia then suggested a party. Thoe, with whom she was getting close, said straight away that the place could have a bonfire party at night. While everyone is cheering for the party, Ken notices that Leo is not looking well. Tai and Fat couldn't wait to be together 24 hours a day, since they had established their relationship. At the bonfire party, they refused to leave each other for a single minute. Ken, however, gets himself drunk soon after the party starts. Leo told him to slow down and not get drunk again. At that moment, Jenny also came to the party. Everyone unconsciously looked at Tai. A smiling Tai, however, explained that he had already talked to Jenny senpai, so it was okay. Everyone's atmosphere was then revitalized. Ken, as the representative of really bad luck, in the game of truth or dare, he was the first to be picked by the bottle. Ken says there's nothing he can say and picks truth or dare. Gaia had the idea to ask Ken about his first love. Ken ended up dodging a round of flirting because he's never been in love. Ken spun the bottle and picked Leo. Leo picks truth or dare after seeing Ken say his dare was terrible. Gaia asks if Leo has a crush. Leo can't help but turn his gaze to Tai. He stares at Tai and says yes there is. Leo turns the bottle to Fat and asks him to choose truth or dare. Fat's desire to win came up and he said he would choose dare. Leo asked Fat to drink 2 bottles of wine at once and Fat agreed. After drinking the wine, Fat spun the bottle and chose Jenny. The atmosphere was instantly awkward again. Tai took Fat's hand and said understandingly, Fat can't go and talk to Jenny senpai again. Fat stroked Tai's head and got up to talk to Jenny alone to one side about things. Fat apologized to Jenny first for making Jenny sad about this earlier. He explains that he doesn't love Jenny as a lover anymore though, but the time they spent together remains Fat's most important memory. Jenny also expressed her understanding. The two embrace and reconcile, bringing the convoluted relationship to a complete end. And Tai, who is hiding and watching, feels relieved. Arya tells Jenny, even though she was no longer Fat's girlfriend, she herself still wanted to meet Jenny, because every time he or she talks to Jenny, he or she had a good time. Jenny also promised Arya to keep seeing her. Jenny later leans into Arya's arms and still can't stop crying. Tai and Fat come to the school to deliver something to Ken, accompanied by Gaia. Tai said he had to go to his big brother Eric's place later to pick up his cat Mimi. Fat was going to stop by and ask Gaia if she wanted a ride. Tai turns to Gaia with a smile and warns her not to disturb the two of them. Gaia knowingly says she can't go back alone. Ken comes to get his stuff and rambles on. Tai, not wanting to spoil him, has to drag him along to get something from the trunk. Leo subtly calls out to Fat and says he has something to tell him. Can they come back? And the two have finished their conversation and the atmosphere is not very good. Tai takes Fat to his elder brother Eric's house. Fat, on the other hand, thinks Eric is very different from Tai. He's a fair-looking man with sunglasses and an expressionless face watering the greenery. Fat asks Eric to be casual with him. Eric face palms and spits out that it won't work. After all, Fat is still 2 years Eric's senior. Tai goes inside to look for Mimi the cat, and Fat looks at the house next door with nostalgia. It turns out that next door is Fat's grandmother's house. He had always been close to his grandmother and used to come and stay at her house in those days. It wasn't until Grandma died that he left the place because he was too sad. Tai picks up his cat and asks Fat to come home with him. As he leaves, Tai makes a point of telling his brother Eric to get a good night's sleep. Eric, who is very friendly in front of Tai, next moment blackmails Fat in front of him. He says that if he dares to break his brother's heart, Fat he will definitely die. Fat and Tai exit the compound and are still exclaiming that Eric is really something. Tai notices that Fat is in a bad mood and asks him what's wrong. Fat tells Tai that the house next door is the home of his favorite grandmother. He once met a neighbor's brother, who was a crybaby because of his parents' divorce. He had met a neighbor brother who was crying because of his parents' divorce and had passed snacks and sticky notes to him through his grandmother. So he never saw that brother's face until his grandmother died and he received a sticky note from that brother consoling him and telling him not to cry. His brother says he will always be there for him. Tai then realizes that he and Fat met so early on, before they exchanged names. After Tai decided that the older brother was his first love, they had made a connection for each other's marriage long ago in the underworld. Fat and Tai are still sighing in the car that they knew each other so early. Tai looks at Fat, who is driving, and tells him that he is happy that the kind big brother is Fat. Tai hesitates for a while and tells Fat that he wants to spend the night at his house tonight. Hearing this, an excited Fat slams on the brakes straight away. Fat reaches home and removes all sorts of jewelry from himself as he walks. Tai solemnly calls Fat and tells him tonight he just wants to stay with Fat and is ready himself. Fat tells Tai with ulterior motives. Now that Tai has said so, he won't suppress himself anymore. The two kiss so hard that they end up completely melting into one. Leo and Ken are together in the hostile editing group work. Leo, however, always stares at Tai's picture over and over again. Ken realizes that Leo has a fever, so he helps him to the sofa and feeds him water and medicine. Leo pulls Ken down and asks if he had to choose between his favorite person and his soulmate, which one would Ken choose? Ken subconsciously felt that he would prioritize his soulmate, but then he wondered what if he really liked the guy. So it was hard for him to answer Leo's question. The two lay side by side on the couch, their fingertips ambiguously entwined. Leo called Tai to confirm his feelings. It makes Tai fulfill the promise he made when he asked him to dinner. He also asked that the date could ideally be extended to a full day. Tai thought for a moment and agreed, but he couldn't help but think of Gaia telling him earlier that Leo liked him for that matter. Fat had been really into sticking to Tai ever since the relationship. He wants to take Tai back to his house every night. Tai says he really can't tonight, he has work to do. Fat wanted to book Tai for the weekend. Tai hesitated and said that he was not available for the weekend and that he had to conceptualize a new article topic. Fat could only instruct Tai not to just work and get some sleep. Leo tells Tai that he's going to confirm something later and takes a picture of Tai. James and Albin run into Tai and Leo together in the park. James takes a picture and sends it to Fat and asks him what is going on. Why would Tai come out alone on a date with Leo? Fat recalls that earlier at Ken's school, Leo told him that he was also Tai's soulmate. At that time, Fat had also warned Leo that Tai was already his boyfriend. He asks Leo to make sure it doesn't come to pester Tai. Fat tentatively calls Tai. Tai, however, says he is busy with work. Fat immediately goes to Tai's house to seek confirmation, but meets Ken, who is also waiting for Tai. Fat tells Ken that Leo is meeting Tai at the park. Tai tells Leo if there are things he hasn't thought through or needs to validate, then he'll take his time. Tai wanted to leave when it was about to rain, but Leo said he could give Tai a ride. Tai, who doesn't want to cause trouble for others, says he can't hear in the rain. Tai overhears that the keychain hanging on Leo's bag looks familiar. He tells Leo he used to have one of these keychains for his keys, but he lost it a couple years ago. Leo urgently asks Tai if he saved a student 2 years ago. Tai recalls when he was in a hurry to go out and chase his dad who had left the house. He did incidentally save a high school student who wasn't looking where he was going and almost got hit by a car. Leo then realizes that it was Tai who saved him in the first place. Tai watches the rain get heavier and is afraid that Leo won't hear him. So he takes a sticky note out to him and writes that it's raining too much and he'd better go first. But Leo suddenly calls out to Tai. Tai didn't realize that he could hear Leo's voice on a rainy day. He turns to Leo in shock. Tai is unsure and asks Leo if it was him who just called out to him. Leo replies with certainty that it was him and adds that he is also Tai's soulmate. Leo finishes and kisses Tai. This scene is also seen by Ken and Fat, who rushed over to look for Tai. Tai tries to pull Fat back but is flung aside by an angry Fat. Leo is not shy to say that he is also Tai's soulmate. Fat heard this and punched him even harder. Tai looks at the chaos and breaks down and yells that I don't want this fate. The trio's sudden rainy day deafness is inexplicably cured by Tai's words, but the trio's connection is thus cut off. Fat is adamant and asks Tai whether he should choose himself or Leo. Tai feels that obviously his relationship with Fat is already so clear. Fat shouldn't have questioned both of them. But Fat says, I just want an attitude from you. Can't you be firm with me? Is this hard to do? Tai doesn't want to keep talking to an emotionally unstable Fat. Fat is even more devastated as he watches Tai keep avoiding his questions. He wonders if it's that hard just to get Tai to choose himself. Ken blames Leo and shouldn't have ruined Tai and Fat's relationship. Leo retorts that he was just trying to validate the whole soulmate thing. Ken tells Leo that his behavior is bad and will only break up Tai and Fat. He also said that he had thought that he and Leo were like-minded and liked each other, but it turned out not to be. Leo looks at Ken, who turns around and stops looking at him, and surprisingly he feels very lost. Tai hugs Mimi at home and says that he used to wish for a cure for deafness. Now that he was inexplicably better, he didn't feel very happy himself. Instead, he feels that his connection with Phat was silently broken. With the disappearance of the disease, Phat went to Tai drunk and made sure he explained everything that happened tonight. Why, after a shout from Tai, their deafness was not cured. It's as if their soulmate status goes with them. Phat just wants Tai to tell him clearly that Tai still loves him, but Tai is very passive and not very willing to communicate with Phat. He also said things like he might as well break up. Phat is both shocked and angry. He also said something like, "Why don't the two of them just break up then?" Phat regretted it as soon as he said it, but Tai has started sorting out their relationship calmly. He has thanked Phat for taking care of him during this time. Despite the separation, he had a happy time. After saying this, he pushed Phat out of the door. Seeing that there was no way back, the two had their backs to the same door, but their hearts felt like they were separated by millions of miles. What can the two people who are separated by their hearts do to break the deadlock at this moment? Where will their relationship go from here? The mystery of our parents' divorce that's been plaguing us for an entire show is finally out in the open. Never in a million years did I realize that such a simple thing could haunt Tai for years. Will Tai, who learns the truth, be able to let go? In the last installment, we talked about the violent argument that erupted between the two because they witnessed Leo forcibly kissing Tai. They even fall into a cold war as a result. After breaking up with Tai, Phat hides in his car and runs around crying, trying to ease the pain in his heart. But the image of his breakup with Tai is always on his mind over and over again. Ken also stopped talking to Leo at school. The professor was pleased with their previous assignments, so this time, the students were free to team up or shoot independently. The theme this time is what's in the heart. The professor wants them to return to love itself to tell the story. Ken's friends assume that he will team up with Leo again. After all, their previous assignments were almost at the top of their professional rankings, but Ken coldly said that he would team up with King this time. He's not very keen on picking up on people like Leo. The friends look at each other in disbelief while Leo is lost. Gaia tries to cheer up Tai, who has been acting very disheveled since the breakup. She tells Tai that he can't try to contact Phat, but Tai is very negative. He stubbornly believes that soulmates are fake. It's something he should have gotten when his parents divorced. Yet he still tries to love others, now like a moth to a flame. As a result, in the end, the two ended up breaking up. He's tired now, plus Phat hadn't contacted him all week. He then acquiesces that his relationship with Phat has come to an end. At this moment, Phat drives by and happens to see Tai, but he didn't have the courage to raise his voice to call him. Phat is also lethargic all day long after losing his love. Arya and the others ask Phat why he didn't take the initiative to contact Tai. Phat, however, is very aggrieved and says that now he is not sure whether Tai is willing to continue contact with him. Arya analyzes him rationally. He said he was either angry or drunk the first two times. Anyone else wouldn't be happy to talk to him sensibly. Phat understands what his friends mean. It's just that the fact that Tai has never been firm enough to choose him before is still nagging at him. Friends ask Phat if he is still in love with Tai. Phat nods silently. The friends gather around Phat and encourage him to try harder since he likes it. Ken also becomes nervous because of his lost love and hides at Tai's house all day long. Tai tells Ken that he is sorry, but Ken says that it has nothing to do with Tai. It's nothing more than him liking Leo and Leo liking Tai. He's not mad at Tai now that he's accepted Tai's coffee. Ken also told Tai that at that time, Phat actually knew that Tai went to the park with Leo. It's just that Phat chose to trust Tai first, so he came to the house to find him first. That's why he ran into Ken. Tai was grateful to Ken for telling him that, but he and Phat had broken up and hadn't approached anyone since. Basically, that's the most they'll end up with. Ken is thankful that Tai has been there for him and has a hug and cry with Tai. Leo asked Tai to meet him and told him he was sorry. It's because of him that Tai and Phat fight. Tai smiles and says he doesn't blame him. He just couldn't accept Leo's feelings. Leo tells Tai, in fact, after he kissed Tai that day, he instead determined that he was not in love with Tai. Tai is just a very important person in his life. He can't be an affectionate big brother or a lifesaver who has been on his mind for many years. But this relationship was uniquely not love. Tai is relieved that Leo is able to figure this out quickly. At the same time, he also realized that the person Leo really likes is actually Ken. As he leaves, Tai whispers in Leo's ear that he knows everything about Ken. Ken can come to him if there is anything he needs. And this scene just happens to be seen by Phat, who comes to Tai with flowers to make peace. Thinking that Tai has made his choice, he leaves the flowers where they are and turns away himself. Phat makes a spirited decision to quit his job and go to another place for a fresh start. While his friends urge him to think it over, Phat cries bitterly. He felt that if it wasn't for the setting of soulmates that forced the binding, he and Tai can't actually get along at all. Friends hug Phat and let him have a good cry. Tai is still acting disgruntled on the day of his mom's wedding. He was also the latest to arrive at the wedding, Eric, Sam, and Ken all arrive early. Eric is concerned and asks about Tai and Fat's breakup. Tai, however, doesn't want to say much. Tai looks at his dad, who has arrived late, and is congratulating his mom on her new marriage to another man. That's the moment when he thought the image was pretty ridiculous. When Mom's wedding officially started, Kim gave her a heartfelt confession. Mom is also thankful to her ex-husband and kids for being able to attend her wedding. But before Mom could finish, Tai couldn't listen anymore. He goes back to his room with the excuse that he has a headache. Tai's mom is also sad to see Tai leaving the ceremony like this. When the ceremony is over, the new husband advises Tai's mom that she can't go with her ex-husband to talk to Tai. Otherwise, Tai will be tormented and haunted by this incident for the rest of her life. Tai initially acted very resistant when he saw his mom and dad coming to him together. Even after Dad asked Tai if there was anything he wanted to say to them, Tai didn't even think there was anything to say. Tai's mom held back tears as she spoke to Tai. It has been due to the fact that Tai suffers from the same sudden deafness as they do. So in both of their relationships, Tai is the kid who suffers the most. Tai's dad also told Tai he and Tai's mom split up. Not that they didn't love each other, but marriage is complicated. Over a long period of time together, they gradually wanted different things. Tai's mom is a career-oriented woman who wants nothing more than to get her career off the ground. But Tai's dad is meticulous and sensitive. He wants Tai's mom to divert more of her energy to her family and children. The two are always arguing over this. That is, until Tai's mom suggests that they should separate first and see what happens. Tai's father, however, feels more and more that his life with Tai's mom is drifting apart. It was also he who initiated the divorce in the end. In order not to hurt the kids too much, so they decided to hide the reason for their divorce. Tai's mom tells Tai that it's not about destiny binding. Rather, it's just that it's never that simple for two people to love each other. Tai's mom also told Tai she was glad she was free of that hangover, and she and Papa Tai will be soulmates for the rest of their lives. And instead, they learned to deal with family issues more calmly after the divorce. They occasionally talk on rainy days. Tai's mom knows that Ken has the best relationship with Tai. In order for Ken to be able to see Tai more often, that's why she picked that apartment close to Tai's house. They've been worried about Tai. Even now, when Tai's mom remarries, she still manages to be best friends with her ex-husband. The most important people in her life are still her 4 sons. Only now, her new husband was added to the mix. Tai can help but cry his eyes red after hearing all this from his parents. Tai's dad tells him that he knows that Tai and Fat have broken up, but when Tai meets a good love, he surely knows how to fix it. Tai keeps on recalling the image of Fat saying that he loves him the most. She naturally had her own plans in mind. Leo wrote the story of himself and Ken, and went to consult with Senior Chris. Chris could tell right away that the story was based on Leo and Ken. He asked Leo what he really wanted. Leo told him that he liked Ken, so wants Ken to know how he really feels, and finally wants Ken to forgive him. Senior Chris decided to help out the two. He purposely blurts out that Ken will understand Leo's feelings when he reads this story. He also makes a point of telling Leo that his true heart is right behind him. Leo turns his head and sees Ken. Ken, on the other hand, doesn't really want to talk to him. Even Ken mistakenly thinks that Leo wars on the fact that he likes him. That's why he deliberately wrote this story to amuse himself. Leo, however, tells Ken seriously he will definitely make Ken understand his true heart with practical actions. Arya asks Jenny on a date and also buys her, in advance, her favorite mocha smoothie. Arya asks Jenny if Fat has contacted her recently. Jenny was also surprised that Fat was able to be out of touch for 2 weeks. Arya assumed that Tai wasn't dating Leo. Jenny, on the other hand, who has come out of that past relationship, sees it more thoroughly than anyone else. She thinks that this marriage between Tai and Fat will not be cut off easily. But they, as outsiders, can only cheer and root for these two from afar. Arya tentatively asks Jenny if she is ready for a new relationship.
ทำไมถึงอยากรู้หรอ
Jenny tells Arya with a deeper meaning. It should be easy to fall in love yourself if it's her. The relationship took a qualitative turn for the better. Leo submitted an assignment in class on the theme of what's in your heart, but his homework is with Ken as the main character. The cute Ken, the naughty Ken, the handsome Ken in his eyes, these made up the most important part of his heart. The other students looked at Ken. A friend even asked Ken how he became the thing in Leo's heart. Ken didn't answer, reported to the professor and left the classroom. Ken looked at Leo, who followed him out and questioned him. Why did he use himself as a subject to create this piece? Leo told him he just wanted to let Ken know, in a practical way, that he liked Ken a lot. In the past, he's probably been a self-righteous douche. After all that he's done, he comes to realize that the only person he really loves is Ken. But this Ken not like him anymore now. Ken looks at Leo, who confesses loudly to him, but wipes tears from his eyes and can't help but run towards him. Ken takes the initiative and kisses Leo, getting the relationship off to a great start. Ken tells Leo not to smile stupidly. Leo says he will always smile like this at Ken from now on. The two of them feel shy over the fact that one of them is confessing with his homework and the other is the main character of the movie. So, they decided not to go back to class for a while. Ken called Tai and told him that he was already dating Leo. Ken hopes that Tai, Thoe, will be happy again because of love. Tai, however, says that he has not been able to contact Fat. He has disappeared for 2 weeks and this time, Fat might have made up his mind to break up with him. Ken has a feeling that Tai won't break up with Fat so easily. Ken also asks Tai to try contacting Fat first and see. He doesn't want his brother to turn into the cold and uncaring person he used to be. When Ken finishes his call, Leo says he wants to kiss him again. Ken refuses on the grounds that intimacy is forbidden in a public place. The two went back to class together. Hand in hand, Tai was at home, repeatedly remembering what had happened before. All this time, he was always afraid of disappointment, sadness, and that it wouldn't end up the way he wanted it to. That's why he fought fiercely against his mom and chose to hurt others before being hurt. It's only when Fat tries to communicate with him to solve the problem that he goes so passive-aggressive to avoid it. He refuses to tackle the actual problem head-on. Tai went to Arya to inquire about Fat. Arya doesn't know much. All she knew was that after Fat quit his job, he went to Chiang Mai to open an animal clinic. But since he said he wanted to be alone during this time, he had very little contact with other people. Arya also told Tai that Fat had originally brought flowers to the cafe to make peace with Tai that day. As a result, he misunderstood Tai's eventual choice to date Leo. Tai says it was a misunderstanding. He didn't even know Fat had gone to him, and it's Tai's own fault for creating this situation. Arya is also inexplicably certain that Tai and Fat won't get separated easily, because when Fat was leaving, Arya told him, if he gets a new start or a new person, remember to always contact them. But Fat told her firmly, if it wasn't for Tai, he wouldn't have been able to get a new date in the future, and he was very much convinced that Tai was his soulmate. Tai can't wait to get to Chiang Mai. After hearing Arya say this, Arya tells him that she doesn't know Fat's exact address. So Tai going to Chiang Mai to find Fat is simply looking for a needle in a haystack. But Tai was insistent. He says that no matter what, he is going to get Fat back himself. He also holds Arya's hand and thanks her for helping both of them all along. Tai sits on the plane and recalls his earlier accident on Mae Pink Hill. At that time, Thoe, Fat was the first to find him. At that time Fat said that because the two were soulmates, so no matter how far apart they are, they find each other first. Tai had just gotten off the plane when he got a call from Gaia. Gaia says that she has taken a vacation for him and is still ready to support Tai. Tai tells Gaia he decided to make a list and go from house to house until he found Fat. With that, Tai started to follow the map of Chiang Mai and kept searching for Fat's whereabouts. In between, he rented a cute motorcycle to get around, but even after many days of searching, he still found nothing. Tai didn't lose heart. He believed that if he kept looking, he would find Fat. However, he never thought that the motorcycle he was riding would break down in the middle of the road. Just when Tai doesn't know what to do, he meets a kind couple. Tai asked Ryan to check the motorcycle only to realize that it was out of gas. It was late in the day at this point. Ryan lets Tai stay at his house for the night. Ryan also introduced Tai to his wife, Ada. The two of them had been dating for 10 years. When Ada was blinded from complications from a car accident, Ryan has always been there for her. Ada hears people talking about them and tells Ryan not to take care of himself out of kindness. Ryan, however, goes along with it and asks Ada to be his girlfriend because he's been in love with Ada for years. Tai envies the young couple and talks to them about how to make up with their date. Ada tells Tai the most important thing for two people to go far is to communicate and understand each other, and Tai is very teachable. The next day, they see Tai off and tell him that he can't go to the bazaar. Tai didn't expect to see Fat again in the middle of a sea of people. He slowly walks towards Fat and says that he has been looking for him for many days. He says that after all this time, he understands Mom and Dad and all that has happened. He also says that all the rain he hears on days when he doesn't have Fat with him makes him feel lonely. He wouldn't give a damn about soulmates. Fat had once asked him if it was hard to choose himself, and Tai now gave Fat the answer that it wasn't really hard at all. It's not hard at all, because the only person Tai likes from beginning to end is Fat. Fat can help but hug him and say, I love you too. The story of Tai and Fat begins as soulmates. Again, their story ends with them becoming true soulmates. It was in that small mountain village in Chiang Mai that Tai wrote his story. Fat is busy with his clinic. That's how two people try to live happily ever after for the rest of their lives.